If you really want to know somebody, talk to them when they're sick. That's the true person. See, when everything's going right, people will lead with their facade, with a whole bunch of things outside of themselves. But when you're sick, you have to go inward. We're so exterior with our energy. And the reason why is because when we go deep inside, there's no reserves that we left. We pushed it all out and we gave it to people and we gave it to things and we gave it to the internet. We gave it to media, but we forgot to give to ourselves. So when we have to go in and figure it out, a lot of us don't have any in there.
Welcome back to another episode of Women of Tomorrow. If you are new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Women of Tomorrow is a platform dedicated to women positioning themselves for longevity. So if you like this video, please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Kellie!
Hey, girl.
Oh. You're here with me. Thank you. I'm so honored. I'm so happy. I'm so glad I ran into you the other day because I hadn't seen you in I feel like a year.
It's been longer than that.
It's been longer than that.
What's crazy is you got younger.
I did?
You got fresher. Yes, ma'am. Tell down on you.
And you look beautiful.
Thank you, sweetheart.
You have just been continuing the legacy of your family, your father.
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful thing. I remember the last time I was at your space in Atlanta, you had all the goodies. You had this beautiful scent that I need some more of. What is the name of that scent again?
Queen Mother.
Queen Mother.
Mm-hmm.
And where is it?
No, it's not in your box.
Okay. I'm gonna
I was actually going to bring you some. I'm like, no, she probably has some. If not, I'll send it to her. I didn't launch it yet. I don't know why.
Tell me why, because you've been working on it for a minute, and I feel like maybe there's some hesitation. What is it?
It was a lot that was going on, and I just kind of put that down and refocused. COVID was going on, and I was called away quite a bit.
Okay.
And I think that's what really, I was in a really good place when I made it. It's like making a beautiful cake or something. You're like, yeah, I did it. And you look at it and go, this is a great product that I made. And you're like, yeah, I can't wait. And then life shifts.
Yeah.
So when COVID happened, so many people were getting sick. So many people had died that I'm very sorry for. But I had to stick on both hats, my nursing hat and my wellness coach hat, and that's what happened.
Because you're a registered nurse.
I am a nurse.
Okay, so being a registered nurse, and I'm just diving right in, but being a registered nurse and also being, I guess, holistic, naturopathic, having that legacy of herbal medicine, I would say, right? Or plant medicine.
Plant medicine.
Herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
How do those intersect for you, and how do you do that?
Okay, so when you grow up with a father, Alfredo Bowman, it was a pleasure, but that's the only dad I've ever known. I didn't know my life was unique. But as I got older and the store on La Cienega, I was working at that particular one. I had worked in many stores before that, but with this one, I was a little bit older. As you know, when you're a child, you think like a child. As you become a young adult, your life expands. And so when I was looking at all the blood work, when I was looking at all the clients that was coming in, we had a lot of clients from Cedars-Sinai, which is a big hospital in California. And for me, I wanted to know that language that was going on with the medical field. And they were coming in, they were giving these diagnoses and blood tests. And I'm like, Poppy, I don't quite know like you know. Oh, you're fine. You're going to be just fine. You're working with me. We got this. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to know a little bit different. I think that's what happens when you're a child. You grow in your way and you experience life, and the vibes are a little different, in how you process. But I wanted to add to the experience. So as his daughter, my present to support my dad's, his lifestyle and the journey we had as a family was to become a nurse. And I found it fulfilling and in one way, and then heartbroken in another.
What was the heartbroken part?
I was heartbroken by how all of us are not treated the same in hospitals. I was heartbroken behind a lot of people didn't know what it meant to have these diseases and what it meant, actually what they were told they had and how to get out of this. They were just handed pills and they left with such a look on their face and they were kind of destroyed behind it. And that for me hurt because I knew something else. And like they got tired of me going in the hallway, tapping them on the shoulder, saying, come here. I want you to do this. And it was like, hey, you can't be doing that.
So they were watching you. They were seeing.
They were, but you know, the one thing that I love was my early days as a nurse was labor and delivery, but also hospice. I attached to hospice. Why? Because a lot of clients had died. And I didn't know that process of grieving and things. So it gave me definition to a lot of things out there that I had no idea that was a part of still the journey that I was on with my dad. So it helped me to understand quite a bit, but the heartbreak behind what was going on in the hospitals and what they were told and what they were given broke my heart. It truly broke my heart, but then it led to where I am today. You know, what I wanted to do.
So during COVID, when you were called away, were you called away as a nurse or just as a healer, so to speak?
Both. I think what's funny about that was that there was quite a few clients that I was introduced to. You know, I'm from LA and I live in Atlanta. So there were quite a few people and I appreciate it because they wanted both. They heard I was here. They wanted to get with me to find out how naturally to deal with COVID. And when they got COVID, what can they do to, you know, go through this process and come out better on the other side? So I was using both. I found that they're both helpful. And again, my journey with my dad led me to who I am today. I think the best version of him and compliment of him is what I'm doing. And so when I talk to clients, I had quite a few. And a lot of them worked in TV, film, and music, still do. And they were looking to keep working because TV didn't stop because COVID was going on.
So they had to get the shot.
A lot of them at the time, they weren't mandatory in the beginning to get the shot, but they were still getting sick and they were trying to figure out how to keep their homes healthy, you know, in a natural way. Because a lot of them, once it started being called the jab, everybody started forming opinions, and a lot of people were not ready for that. They didn't know what it meant. And I'm okay with that because I didn't know what that quite meant, but I did know what it's like to be sick, and I do know what it's like to get well naturally. So that's my buy-in. And so a lot of clients, they did really well through COVID. They still worked. I was happy to meet a lot of clients, and it helped to further my interest in natural journeys with people. So I enjoy it.
You enjoy having both sides and understanding both sides.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that my life led me here. I was a child then. I'm 51. You know, and I think that's what's funny is that I look back and I go, wow, I learned a lot, and I appreciate both parents, and this is awesome. You know, what we learned from our parents, we think stops at a certain age because we think we got that wheel. But in all honesty, it's all a part of it. You know, I remember walking with Papi, we would be in Honduras, and I would ask him about something about being a woman, and he's not a woman, but, you know, he had a lot of good advice, so I just kept listening. And the funny thing about it is every time I got frustrated or I got real pumped up about an idea, he says, just go back to the basics. And so now that he's not here with me, I take that same advice. I go back to the basics.
Yeah, I got that advice actually too. Like when I was struggling with like what I wanted to do with my career, it was like, well, what did you like to do when you were little? Like, what are the things that you did when you were just a little girl? And it set me on, it put me back on the right track to just find, I think, the inspiration again, find the peace and find the joy in like the little things.
I think we lose it when we get older because we're inundated with so many things about this world. And, you know, when we're young, one of the things that's important is that we learn about ourselves. In kindergarten, we learn how to love our friends. We learn how to sing songs that give us confidence. We learn all these things that are internal. And then as we get into the world, we start extending that to other people, but we forget about ourselves. And that's one thing that Sebi always taught me was loving yourself. And I think when we look at my father's journey, it was about loving himself, committing to himself. And I think that was the most important thing that I've kept as a tool and a jewel around my neck. And when I look in the mirror and see this face, I see his, and I always think about that.
Identical.
I think about what he told me, and I appreciate that keeping those basics, those fundamentals, they rule my life. And if I keep doing that, then hopefully I'll be helpful to the world that I'm experiencing with other people. And that's always my goal, is when I meet people, is to stay in, just in an awareness of where they are, in the consciousness of where we're at in that moment. The experience is very important. So for me, I'm always talking to people, but I want to know that I'm listening with my best ear, because I may not cross this path again. So yeah.
So very, very intentional. I want to go back a little bit, because you were talking about were you born in Los Angeles?
I was.
So born and raised in Los Angeles. So did you ever live in Honduras, or was that just a place that you went to visit?
Oh no, I was born and raised in LA, and I would go everywhere that my dad went. So that's called home. That's second home.
Second home.
So yeah, you go home, you see your cousins, you go, my father was everywhere. We was in Puerto Rico, we were in New York, Ocean Avenue in Brooklyn, Los Angeles. So I travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think for me, Honduras will always be home, because that's where my grandmother was, that's where her cousins were, that's where my dad is, and that's home. That's another home.
I mean, I guess from working with healing people or working in medicine, you deal with a lot of different personalities and fighting back and forth to get people to care about themselves. Is that true?
If you really want to know somebody, talk to them when they're sick. Because that's the true person. See, when everything's going right, people will lead with their facade. People will lead with a whole bunch of things outside of themselves. But when you're sick, you have to go inward. As we see what's going on in the world today, we're so exterior with our energy that when it's time for us to tap into ourselves, we then develop depression and anxiety. And the reason why is because when we go deep inside, there's no reserves that we left. We gave no investment in here. We pushed it all out, and we gave it to people, and we gave it to things, and we gave it to the internet, we gave it to media, but we forgot to give to ourselves. So when we have to go in and figure it out, a lot of us don't have any in there. So we will become depressed. We will become, at a lack of balance. And I found that out during COVID. I didn't get to rest during COVID. I worked the whole time because people needed things. I was stirring up pots of elderberry.
Till your wrists were weak.
Girl.
Wow.
That was a lot. But I feel like people then had to go inward, and they weren't used to it. They weren't used to listening to their bodies. That's why they thought, oh, this is going to be horrible. They put that in their experience. It's going to be horrible. Everything's horrible. Everything's bad. Everything is challenging every day. It's not that it's challenging, it's how we see it. And yes, we lost a lot of people, and for that reason, I'm very sorry for people's loss. But how we deal with it is up to us. And I really believe that during COVID, people didn't tie into themselves because there was nothing in there. We were too busy giving it to the social media, giving it to different things, but not to ourselves.
Yeah.
And
you have your page on social media. And we've become such a media, internet driven society. And a lot of people feel like they can't step away from their social media because they run their companies from their social media. How do you do that? How do you navigate that?
I had to learn. That was an area of life I didn't know. I think people my age who were not used to social media, I had to learn. I did learn, and I keep it in perspective. Because I realized this is the way that I want to send my message, and this is where the people are. I wanted to communicate with people and let them know, hey, listen, this is a safe spot for women. This is a safe spot for people who want to dig into natural health, but it's not for cowards and it's not for punks. This is for people who truly want to be authentic with themselves, to learn what they need to help themselves, because that's the journey I know about my dad.
Yeah.
Now, what my brothers and nephews and sisters and cousins pull away from it, I can't answer for, because they're individuals and I send them love and light. But for Kellie, I had to go in this direction because it's mine. This is my ministry. And so for Sebis Daughters, and I named it after him. Listen, it's not how we fall down. It's our cold get up game in life. And I want people to know this is a safe area. This is, where I highlight my celebrities of the garden. This is where I tell you about things that matter to what I'm hearing out there. But that's all.
Yeah.
That's about it. How do you get to know who Sebis Daughters is? Yeah, you can get on there, but I really want you to know about you. See, that's the secret within my Instagrams, is knowing about you. I put it all back on you.
Put it all back
because I want you to know you.
Yeah, because sometimes someone's not going to be there, and you have to go to you.
You have to go to you. When you are alone in a room and you're sick and you're cold and you're naked, and you're throwing up and you're just laying there and things are going on, when you're facing some kind of challenge of disease, who else is there but you and God? You better know enough about yourself. You better get ready, because all of us will face something at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm like, we are a kind of a weak society in that sense of where when we're alone, we feel not popular, unloved, like all those different kind of negative connotations surrounded around being alone. And why do you think that there's no celebration around solitude and really knowing yourself and being with yourself and putting yourself first? It's like everything's selfish or everything's self-serving. But in nature, I think one of the laws of nature is self-preservation.
There it is. There it is. So what you're saying is that we've moved away from nature, that we are off balance. What I'm hearing you say to me is that we have violated nature through the way we're living now, and we're okay with it. That's what I heard you just say, and I believe you're right. I think it is hard for people to understand that we are so far from nature that soon you feel like you can't get back. Sometimes you feel you cannot get back. And so for me, when I look at people and where we are and what we've lost, I think about how to get balanced. And the first thing I tell people when they want a consultation with me, I do a lot of wellness coaching one-on-one, is, do you want to know how to find your biggest cheerleaders? Here's what you do. You turn off all of that, and your superpower begins. Turn off that music with words. Turn off all the things in the world that you are interested in except your food, because that's how you live. And if I look in your refrigerator and I really want to know who you are, I just go in there to check you out. So your relationship with food has got to help you out, because honestly speaking, if you're not eating what you're supposed to, how are you going to live? What are your thoughts behind that? And so I really want people to start there, journaling about how they're eating, because it tells how you're going to feel. You can't tell me you're going to have a holy thought with an unholy diet. It's just not possible. They can't live together. That's off balance. So we have to start with our relationships with food.
What would you say to people that, because like in this generation, I would say the last 20 years, so much has been processed. It's just gotten more intense and more intense, GMO and all that stuff. So some people were born into nothing natural, so they don't even know where to start. And they tend to only look at diet once they're like chronically ill or very sick. And then they're like, oh, so diet does matter. I know that when I started, I guess at that time I called myself vegan, but that was 2008. And I didn't know what I was doing. I read a book. It was called Skinny Bitch. And it just talked about like, it was a funny way of talking about food and not wanting to be overweight, but they really broke down like a lot of the foods and what all the chemicals that were in it and the lies from, the FDA and all that kind, USDA. But basically after putting that into practice, I felt so different that I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this was possible. And had I just not, honestly, I tried it out because I was in the music industry and they wanted us to be so in shape, and I didn't like working out and I didn't like dieting. So I'm like, how can I eat as much as I want and still like stay in shape? And that's where it led me to like plant-based. But I would have never gone there if I didn't have somebody pushing me. So like, how do you convince people about their food, or how do you kind of push them in that direction when they're like, I'm good?
Well, I want to thank Nipsey Hussle. I want to thank Kendrick Lamar. I want to thank everyone who keeps rocking my father's name, because the younger generation are now trying to figure out, why are they mentioning this man? Oh, Eddie Murphy, he mentioned that on a movie that was recently put out on Netflix. Because here's the thought: if we keep saying it, it brings us back to a center of ourselves about food. Because he would be a person you know as someone who's interested in your well-being through your food. So when you hear that name, Dr. Sebi, it just kind of resonates good eating. And I tell people, being plant-based, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's not a destination. It is a journey. And please understand that, give yourself some grace through it. But a lot of people didn't kind of think about that until vanity became a thing for them, especially for women. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, I'm vain. But I think what's important is that my faith in myself and what I want to give myself overrules that. But again, I want to keep talking about it. I think the one thing that continues to be is these conversations about how we can eat better. Being vegan, being plant-based, at least we're talking about vegetables.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, when people start talking about them, now we get into the discussion of organic to GMO.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into alkaline versus keto versus Mediterranean. But we're all talking about better eating. And for that reason, I am glad.
Yeah.
For that reason, I look at it and tell people, well, my food list is designed to show you the highest level of alkalinity in a food source. It doesn't mean these are all the ones you're going to choose every time in your life, but I at least need you to know how to help yourself.
To have that staple list.
Yes, to have your mapping, to have your basics, just like you learned in kindergarten. So this is my way of continuing the conversation about, if you get off track, if disease should happen, you know where to go.
That brings me to the seasons changing. And one of the things that I've just started, and I guess in the last couple of days, is started hearing people talk about, oh, it's going to be another COVID, it's going to be another lockdown. Have you been hearing that? Have you been seeing fear tactics or whatever, the predictions or...
Yeah, what I'm hearing is wake up from the summer. Every season, we change in how we eat. And I talk about that on my platform a lot. But COVID never went anywhere. However, how you're taking care of your body, how aware are you of this change of seasons with your food?
Okay.
What is your relationship? So during the summer, what do we tie into? A lot of sugar, a lot of fried, a lot of fun. And so now we're going into the fall, and the ability for viruses to come has always been this way.
Yeah.
Always. So what are we doing individually to counteract that? And so I normally talk about, I was talking about hydrating hard, but we had a very hot summer. But I'm also talking about, what are your levels of eating that's going to bring you up for this season? What are you doing? Did you stop because things got better for you? What are you doing? So the conversation is always about knowing your body, doing the best you can, because if you do get COVID, how are you coming through it? What are you doing to stay on top of it? Because we know the information about COVID is, if you have underlying diseases, if you have this, if you have that, your chances of having a worse COVID or bad COVID are great. So what are we doing to stay in line with our own bodies? Please listen to your body. So for me, I'm always talking about raising your vitamin C, gut health. I'm talking about hydration. I'm talking about the turnover of your vegetables for this season and what's going on in this season. I'm talking about how you're, fasting. I think fasting is important to clear out your gut. I'm thinking that we need to keep having these conversations, and I guess I'm going to continue to talk about them only because they're soft reminders to each one of us to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best
Absolutely.
self-care is your relationship with your food first.
Yeah.
So that heavy sugar brings down your immunity. Heavy alcohol consumption brings down your immunity. Very bad depression because you can't deal with things that are going on because you ate fried chicken all night, and alcohol brings down your immunity. So many things. Stress will bring down your immunity. How are we dealing with ourselves? So these are the things that I want to continue to talk about, on how we can raise ourselves up and find better solutions so that we can navigate together better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about gut health and listening to your body,
Yeah.
from what I've seen is that people possibly don't know how to listen to their body. Like for me, like I'm very aware of my body. Like I don't play about a headache. I don't play about, being stuffed up. I don't play about like having an ache in my leg, because I look at it as my body's telling me something. I'm not going to just rush and go take a Tylenol. I'm going to say, okay, why do I have a headache? Did I not drink enough water, or did I eat the wrong thing? Or, so there's so many little things that I feel just people around me in my family ignore, but they're all your body telling you something. What are the things, how can people, like, would you suggest, get centered enough to be able to pay attention to their body or know their body?
Okay, the first thing I learned about nursing school is when I was in the ER for a minute. And what's the first thing they do when they put you in the bed? What's the first thing?
What they do? Check your blood pressure or something?
And then what do they put in your arm?
Oh, they put an IV?
They put an IV. And why do they put an IV in your arm? Is because you're at a lack of, the one thing they want to know is that you're hydrated and that you have minerals. Okay, so let's take that little bit of information and go home with it. So if every day I'm hydrated and I have the minerals I need on a daily, I'm probably going to fare better, because that's the first thing they give you when you're in the hospital. Why? Because we are at a lack of minerals and hydration. So my goal is always to do that. Our CMOS gel at Sebis Daughters, what it does is it opens up your gut to allow for the minerals from the food that you're receiving to be distributed properly. And that's what's great. The water that we have, the spring water, allows the body to be hydrated. So when we get those two things, it's very important, very, very important that we see that every day. And starting there is vital. So, no matter what you're doing, getting your minerals and drinking your water is the biggest. So that's the biggest start. And then I move into something quite easy. I give people homework assignments. I say, go on the Google and Google what foods bring down the immune system and start there. So you'll have refined sugar, processed food. And before you start this process, have a plan for just 1 week, 7 days. Okay, I'm going to start with 7 days. I'm going to go and I'm going to have a plant-based meal 1 time a day, 2 times a day. For this 7 days, I'm going to look into this. And what you're actually doing is taking care of yourself. What you actually did was tell yourself, I'm going to give you what you need, not what I want.
They say the gut is the second brain or first brain?
It's the second brain, and that's the whole point. Are we feeding our bodies to what we want or what we need? It's going to tell us in the end, regardless. So falling in love with yourself through your food is very important. And so when that happens, that whole week, if you can, work it out week by week or day by day or hour by hour. There's no shame in doing greatness to yourself. This is how you learn to be kings and queens. You take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Show yourself grace. But you got to show yourself something better than what you've been given it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you have your consultations, is that what's the first thing you start with when you have a new person that wants some help from you?
I normally tell them, I'm here not to judge. I'm here to be your best friend through this journey. I'm here to partner with you on this journey. I know you haven't done it before, but I've done it enough to help you out. I don't care if you tell me you ate ribs all day and crackling and whatever else. That's not important. What's important is that you're here because you love yourself, and I want to help you learn how.
Yeah.
So let's start there. And then we just start talking. Because a consultation is not designed, when you go to a doctor's office, you get 5 minutes. When you see a doctor, you get 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is to make sure that they done talk to you enough to get you exactly what you need. My goal is to help you turn inward, and we find that love for yourself together. Because there has to be a relationship. And if I'm the one to introduce you to yourself, then so be it. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and being open to that. With the products that you sell, did you get your formulas, like, are they the same formulas as your father's, or did you just pull from them and enhance them, or, do what you felt was right?
Yes, exactly. So what I did was I took all the herbs that I learned from him, and then I just moved them around. And I moved them around because I'm a woman.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
like things to
yeah.
be a little different. But I use the same herbs in combination, just in smaller, different combinations, because some people may need more of this and less of that. So that's all I did, but I have the exact same herbs that he used.
Wow, that's powerful. And that is, one of the ways that you're continuing his legacy by
Yeah.
taking from what he gave. I went to Usha Village in March.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to go for years, and it almost kind of felt like a fairy tale, like, oh, I'll never go. And then finally, I got to go.
Yes.
And I was there. I wanted to stay longer. I was there for 7 days. Isaiah was down there with us. So I feel like we got the special treatment. I was in the sulfur, the hot sulfur pool. I will say this, I didn't go down there like, oh, please heal me in that sense, because I've been on my journey for a long time. It wasn't really anything, going on with me. But I had started to have like really dry skin on my legs. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it might have been a nutrition absorption issue. I thought that maybe during the pandemic, I was taking like these hour-long scalding hot salt baths. I was doing too much. Like, I was supposed to be like 20 minutes. But then over a while, I was like, my legs are scaly and dry. It was just under my knees, and I couldn't figure it out. But after being in that water for 7 days, that was the only thing that fixed it.
Thermal waters are why I go home. Because they're in other places, but this is home and I got some good stuff.
Yeah.
So when you go back to Honduras and you sit in those pools, and my brother Alfredo is there, and he lives there.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful. And when you go home and you know that those thermal waters are there, they're healing. They're healing. And so I know that's what you experience. I experience it every time I go.
Yeah.
So there's nothing better than that amount of minerals in a water. Thermal waters are crazy. So I know what you felt. And I think that for me, going home is a little different. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I love it for what I know it to be, what I've, experienced there. And I want people to go there with the same mindset to go and experience this as part of your journey.
Yeah.
If you want to see what, it's such
What
a
was
beautiful,
built there.
what was built there. It's such a beautiful place. He's not there. It's like going to your parents' house and they're not there anymore for me. And I know that feeling will pass at some point for me, but I love that people enjoy it. And I love going there because I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't stop. It's too much there. It's gold. That thermal water is gold. The fruit that grows on that land is awesome. So I love it for that reason. It's like our paradise. It's like a small paradise.
It really is. I mean, I got a chance. Isaiah took us inside the glass house.
Yes.
I went into your father's room, and it was so energetically just like warm. I almost just was tearing up. And, and I'm not really like a tourist person. You ain't got to show me all the places.
Right.
But I went in there, and I felt so blessed. I just felt like, wow, this is it was just like a dream. And I know that when I ran into you the other day, you were like, you just whispered to me and you were like, I miss my dad.
Yes, every day.
And I can only imagine that it's been 7 years.
Yes.
It's been 7 years since he passed. What was it like for you during that time, 2016, when you learned of his passing, or where were you?
I actually had spoke to him a month before that, and he had called, and I was, in Atlanta, just living life. I was lecturing. I lectured a lot in different schools, beginning nursing classes for some. And so that's what I was doing. And because when I came to Georgia, I wasn't working at all with my dad. I just wanted to, I gave that a break.
Okay.
And I just wanted to, look at what I was doing, as far as nursing. And so teaching, and he would actually participate in some of my lectures when we got down to health and nutrition, which was pretty cool for people. But at that time, I remember the day it happened, and I believe it was a Saturday, and my sister called me, and she was screaming. That was pretty hard because I knew the first time he was jailed and then the second time, and I was kind of worried about the second time. And when she called me, I already knew when she was screaming. It was early in the morning, and she had told me what happened, and my world changed. He was one of my best friends. So it was pretty difficult, and then other brothers and sisters called, and we all talked, and it was a very sad time. I mean, I don't know what anybody else would feel when it's your parent, but it was pretty difficult. And for those who knew that I was in Atlanta, I went to the store maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days later, and this woman runs into me in the Whole Foods, and she drops her stuff, and she's crying. And it's my face. So it was kind of difficult for people to talk to me because I look like him. Yeah. And that was very difficult for me. So I stayed in the house a lot. But what it did for me while I was in the house, it formed an idea of, okay, so what now? What does this mean for you? Who are you? What did you learn? Because remember, I told you that I had been a hospice nurse. I have walked people through death with their families. What was my takeaway from knowing my father? And it brought tears and smiles all at the same time because I had learned so much. And that's when Sebis Daughters was started in my head. I started to think about that I wanted to keep honoring him. Yeah. And so my way was to offer Sebis Daughters to help me through this. It was a very hard situation, and so being in what I'm doing now, this journey I'm on, it's cathartic. It's very difficult. People who know him way back then, people who knew my family, they see my face, and it's very difficult for them. And I had to work through that. I had to process that. I had to go to therapy behind it because it got kind of weird after a while. People would follow me, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But what I come to respect is that they love that man so much as I did. But I lost my best friend. I became selfish with it a little bit. Okay. And but I turned it back to love. And I'm walking my way through what he taught me by Sebis Daughters. By Sebis Daughters. This is my ministry and what he taught me, the little girl with the ashy knees who would sit there in the dirt in Compton and watch him pick vegetables, help him to seed, help him to hold my baby sister, him make me banana pancakes. All of it just came rolling back. And every day, even some of the things I experienced today with trying to find the most authentic herbal blends was not like when he was around. It's different for me, but it's still natural. So that journey I know that he took, I take. We have so much that we've learned from the journey of this man. And, I'm his daughter, and I may be biased, but...
as you should be, but
I should be, right? But I think we have Taco Day, we have Pizza Day. Right? I really think we have
National Girlfriend Day.
Girl, serious. So I'm thinking that having a Dr. Sebi Wellness Day would do him some justice. This man did some great things, and I want to honor him in that way. And I want to keep pushing. And when that day comes, it will come. Then I will feel like I've accomplished what I was supposed to do while I was here. And when I see him again, I'll be able to say, I honored you the best way I knew how, Poppy. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you actually started the process of is there like a Like, who do you have to go to make that kind of stuff happen?
So I'm starting in Atlanta here, and my next place is New York. And yes, there is a process. So I'm working on that process now.
Okay.
But I'm going to keep talking about it. I don't care how old I am. I may be 100 years old. I'm going to still be holding up that sign. Give me a Dr. Sebi Day, because I believe he deserves it. It impacted everybody I know. There is not one person who had alkaline water before he started talking about it in droves. I mean, then we have this movement of, now we know that spring water is the most highest level of water. And then we know what vegetables. Come on, y'all. This man did some work. The least we could do is honor him with the journey that he had, so that we love ourselves. I think that's pretty dope.
It's super dope.
Yes. And I'm just you gonna join me?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, like, how does it, if there's like petitions we have to sign, if we have to show up, and
heck yeah, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I want you to stay with
absolutely.
SebisDaughters.com and join my nephew Isaiah. You know, we were talking about it a couple of days ago, and I told him, I said, it's now time for that battle cry, boy. You young, let's get up.
So you've had those times, that solitude, alone, fasting, to really get into a space of knowing yourself.
I take them.
Yeah.
I transfer it over. I don't have to. I trade television for time with myself. I take away going out to eat, maybe swimming by myself, or being by myself on a walk in nature. So I buy out the time. You know, my spiritual need is very important to me as well. So I buy out the time. So whatever you invest in, you can see out of a person. Like, I look at you today, and when we ran into each other, I looked at you and I was just so proud of you, because you've been investing in yourself, and you didn't have to say a word. And honey, that's power. So when I look at how people invest in them, I look in their eyes, I look at how they're, behaving, and I think, how much has this person invested in themselves? You can tell a whole woman. You can tell a whole man by what they do and say, and maybe what they don't say. So there's things that we need to be more careful in how we communicate with each other. But again, your relationship with your food, it starts there. Because if you're out of control there, what you feed yourself, I don't know what to say. We got to work. Yeah, we got work to do.
I love that you are that your page gives that information. You'd have the consultations, because we need it, and we're about to start really needing it even more. It feels like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Annual Honduras experience. What is that? Tell me.
So a lot of people could not go to Honduras. What was crazy was, I knew that in our inner cities, not everybody has the money or the means to go. So when I got to Georgia, I wanted something for young people and older people alike to be able to experience something. So I turned my place into a rainforest.
Yes, you did.
And so the first annual, I had Tank, I had Monica there, I had I had some supporters there for my journey, and Tank, he performed, and it was so beautiful. But what was the most beautiful was, I had my family there. And this space was dedicated to my father. I have a whole exhibit, a Dr. Sebi exhibit. But when you go to the Honduran experience, it's by appointment only. And what I want you to do when you walk into it is feel that peace. Come in and shop by yourself. Have tea with me. Do something that you'd like to do. There's meditation, there's facials now, there's different things that I want people to experience in the quiet of an area that you wouldn't even think that's there. There are pictures in there, very private and personal, intimate pictures that I've put in there, things of my father's that's in there, but it's like a peek into my diary, my walk with my dad. And so it's something I wanted to give people who couldn't get to Honduras. Now, it's not necessarily a place where you stay overnight. It's just something I want you to recenter, even just for a minute. Yeah.
How do people request an appointment?
They call the office.
Okay.
Hey, I want this time. And then if it's open, there it is. Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's what's needed. I think it's more for me what's needed in this world of people who are having lots of anxiety and depression, lots of, imbalanced times, and you just want to focus, you want to find an area. And sometimes what we see, when we don't know it until we see it. That calmness. You don't know that you need it until you're involved in it.
Yeah. You don't even know what it feels like, that it's even there. Until you have that experience.
Well,
I want to want to just say thank you so much for being here. I always feel like it needs to be like a part 2, so maybe we can do a part 2.
Girl, you know I like sitting with you.
I wanna come and come to your place again, because I remember how beautiful it was, and then that was several years ago. I wanna see what's changed, what's been updated for that, because I want everyone that's watching to be able to see it too. So maybe we can do something cool there.
I would love for you to come. I have the stingless bee honey facials with sea moss that I'm doing. Yeah, stingless bee honey my dad talked about a lot, and I got my hands on some before the end of the season. So everything I find, I'm bringing those treasures to the Honduran experience. And I'm grateful that you have this platform, because you're teaching women that you can be yourself and still win.
Yeah.
That's the joy. That's your power.
Yeah.
Look at your superpower, girl.
Oh my goodness, Kelly! I can't believe you're here. It's for little old us, but no, you are a beautiful spirit. I truly am honored to have had you here, and to even, I want to be able to continue to follow your journey. I want to support you in everything that you have going, because your father left a legacy, and you're just as kind as I would have thought that he would be. And you're, genuine.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So, thank you. Tell everyone where you can look into this camera and tell everyone where they can find you and the things that you have going on.
All right. You guys can find me at the Kellie Bowman. And that's my social media, at the Kellie Bowman. You can find me also at Sebis Daughters LLC and sebisdaughters.com. Come on and visit us. We're waiting for you.